welcome to Bad Movie Beatdown. Now, recently the horror genre have been infested with PG-13 scarefests for teens, and this is one of them. Darkness Falls, a movie about a killer tooth fairy. Wow, I'm feeling scared already. The film had a very troubled production history and was originally the brainchild of writer Joe Harris, who based it upon his short film The Tooth Fairy. The film got taken away by the studio, who proceeded to edit and change the movie until it barely qualified for theatrical release. Even the monster in the suit got changed several times, with the original design, played by perennial man in the suit Doug Jones, being disposed of. In short, a mess. And what do we end up on screen? A big-ass old mess. The film opens with a little prologue to introduce the backstory of our monster, in this case, Matilda Dixon.
Over 150 years ago, in the town of Darkness Falls.
Yep, Darkness Falls, because apparently Light Shines was already taken.
Matilda Dixon was adored by all the children. Whenever one of them lost a tooth, they would bring it to her in exchange for a gold coin, earning her the name the Tooth Fairy. One night, fire tore through her home on Lighthouse Point, leaving her face horribly scarred. Matilda's burned flesh was so sensitive to light, she could only go out at night, always wearing a porcelain mask.
I'm not a doctor or anything, but I'm pretty sure that can't happen.
One day, 2 children didn't come home. The townspeople blamed Matilda. They hanged her. Since then, there are some who believe that Matilda visits the children of Darkness Falls on the night they lose their last tooth, seeking her vengeance on any who lay their eyes upon her face, fulfilling her curse. What I took before in kindness, I will take forever in revenge.
Hooray! A PG-13 Nightmare on Elm Street! Just what the world needed. And in case you're wondering, this great big dump of exposition happens in the first 2 minutes of the movie before the title even comes up. But don't worry, in case you missed it, this will never become important. We cut to our hero Carl as a child losing his very last baby tooth. That night, Carl gets his visit from the oh wait, sorry, we need more exposition. Ah yes, our heroine in Carl's crush, Caitlin, or Cat for short, literally pops in through the window in the middle of the night as Carl goes to bed. Right. They blabber pointlessly for a while and Carl invites Cat to the dance and she accepts, giving Carl his first and second kisses. Whoop-de-doo! Our love interest clunkily established, the plot rolls forward again. Carl is asleep, but is woken by some creepy noises and screeching as the Tooth Fairy comes and takes the tooth. I'm going to be honest here and say that this first scary scene is actually very effective thanks to the sound design and the limited sight of the Tooth Fairy itself. Be grateful, folks. Oh, and I think I found the only scary part in the movie. Mum obviously hears the ruckus and comes in to check in on her son.
I saw her. Kyle!
Yay! Another boo scare, just like when Cat entered. I hope we have several dozen more of these. Also, how did he get to the bathroom? Mum goes to assure him that there is nothing in the house but them two. But she sees something in the mirror. Here comes the Tooth Fairy! Sensibly, Carl scrams into the lit bathroom and waits out the night. In the morning, the police are at the scene investigating.
I heard he was having some problems, but Jesus Christ.
He had problems? Since when? His mother was tucking him in last night. He was fine. They send Carl off to the madhouse. Oh, and check out the scratches that change on Carl's neck. Hello, continuity. Cat watches as the police door shuts and we jump ahead to 12 years later. Cat is in a mental hospital because her brother is unable to sleep. Oh, and her brother has mysterious scratches and is afraid of the doctor. Brother and sister? She's old enough to be his mum. I know there's an age difference sometimes, but her parents must be horny old goats, I'll give him that. Cut to Vegas, and Kyle is all grown up. He keeps a bag full of torches, just in case, and takes plenty of antipsychotic medicines, which is all shown in lovingly over-edited detail. He soon receives a call on his phone from Kat. Kat gives him the lowdown on the situation.
I don't know, the doctors say he has something called knocophobia or...
Night terrors.
Right. Anyway, I don't know, I just thought maybe you could tell me how you got over it.
Yeah, do you remember when you went insane and killed your mother? Yeah, how did you get over that?
I didn't.
What the hell? He has a wall full of paintings of the things he hates the most. No wonder he isn't bloody over it. Intrigued, Carl comes down to Darkness Falls to pay Kat's brother a visit, who knows that Carl has seen the Tooth Fairy too.
She won't come in the light.
Who?
You know who.
The director gives me a cookie when I say my lines creepily.
Sometimes I think of turning off all the lights and letting her come and take me.
Did he just say he was having suicidal thoughts? He can't be more than 10 years old! What kid even thinks or acts like that? Kat walks in, her and Kyle have a little reunion. They discuss Michael's trauma, and Michael has been drawing some pictures of his own, following the loss of his last tooth, to which Kyle responds by walking off. But unfortunately, the most annoying character in the movie just happens to be by the entrance.
Hey, Katie. Kyle?
Who the heck is that guy?
Larry.
Larry! Caitlin, what happened?
Oh, him! The kid who appeared in the intro for 1 second. How silly of me. Oh, and am I the only one who thinks that Kat and Larry are very welcoming to a man who, last time they saw him, supposedly killed his mother and was taken to the loony bin in a police car? I bet the child molesters feel right at home. Larry suggests taking Carl to a bar.
Oh, wait, we could go to the inn, right?
I don't drink.
Oh, come on, Kyle. Like, I haven't seen you in 12 years, man. One drink's not gonna kill anybody.
Kyle reluctantly agrees as the sun sets. The pair give some background exposition. Carl is in the gaming commission and Larry's a lawyer. But don't worry, this never becomes important.
Wanna tell me how you got over it, Kyle? I mean, you did get over it, right?
Dude, the guy just showed you a bottle of antipsychotics he keeps in his pocket. What do you think? Thankfully, at least one character has basis in the real world, since a barfly named Ray starts antagonising Carl because he killed his mum. But Carl decides to walk out without making any trouble. But Ray follows him outside and they roll down the embankment, getting into a struggle. But, of course, it's night, and Ray catches a glimpse of the Tooth Fairy in the trees, and just after Carl gets a chance to escape, Ray is taken. Cut to a police search team? Yes, Larry and the police force are looking for the pair, even though no one saw them roll into the forest, just exit the bar. Larry acts like a massive pussy for some inexplicable reason about being in the forest with some creepy noises. Guess what happens next? Hooray! Another jump scare! Kyle pays a visit to Kat, who, whilst patching him up, forces him to spout yet more exposition. Jesus, do these characters talk about anything other than the plot? Talk about laying it pretty goddamn thick. But the police arrive, arrest Carl, and interrogate him for Ray's murder.
Now, I don't know much about medicine, but it occurs to me that if a man is taking antipsychotics, it might be because he has a tendency to become, well, psychotic.
No shit. With powers of deduction like that, no wonder you're captain of the police force.
I need to call my lawyer.
Larry, who's freaking scared of being in the forest at night? Good plan. I don't even know why Kyle has to be so upset here. I'm pretty sure if Larry's even a half-decent lawyer, he can turn it into a self-defense case, since Ray attacked him first. Or better yet, maybe we could ask the police how he managed to drag a corpse up a tree to drop it on his lawyer at the exact moment. But I guess the people of Darkness Falls haven't learnt much from that little snag 150 years ago, since apparently having psychotic tendencies is all they need to prove Carl of Ray's murder, and they lock him up. Meanwhile, Kat is outside the hospital, about to see her brother. Oh, you've got to be f***ing kidding me. An actual jump scare involving a cat? Michael gets alarmed by the sound of the Tooth Fairy and locks himself in a bathroom. Kat breaks open the door to find Michael by the shower having cut his wrists. Excuse me? So not only does his 10-year-old have suicidal thoughts, but he actually makes an attempt? That kid must have been really screwed up before even the Tooth Fairy got to him. Oh, and one question. Where did he find the blade to cut himself with? In a mental hospital, no less. A psychiatrist explains to Kat that Michael's sleep deprivation has led him to attempt suicide and has become delirious. Right. Luckily, the doctor has a treatment in mind.
Is it surgical?
No, not at all. Michael is placed in a sensory deprivation chamber. The boy faces his fears and realizes that there's nothing to be afraid of.
Holy shit, that's a bit radical, don't you think? I mean, most psychiatrists might pop him on a few pills, but he's going right for William Hurt in Altered States. What do you think his treatment for the common cold is? A nose job? Elsewhere, Kyle gets bailed out of prison by Larry.
Where are my flashlights?
Lab's not done with it.
Why? Oh, right, because the plot says so. The lack of lights forces Kyle into a hardware store, where he buys some new torches in overacting fashion. As the shopkeeper goes to answer a phone call, Kyle notices he has left his keys to the gun cabinet right on the desk. How convenient. Back in the hospital, and the doctors and nurses have prepped the sensory deprivation tank, and what the hell is that? That's not a sensory deprivation tank. Not even close. I think that's a chunky MRI machine. How dumb do they take us for? Kyle asks Larry to drive him to the hospital because sundown is in 20 minutes and he wants to protect Michael. Apparently Larry is a bit pissed off because he was trying to put the moves on Kat, which is a rather optimistic prospect to say the least.
I mean, nobody in this town had a chance with her. She couldn't get you out of her head. All she could ever think about was you.
Wow, that must have been some crush Kat had on Kyle if she managed to go through all of high school not caring about anyone but the kid who supposedly killed his mum. Romantic? Kyle notices that Larry is not actually taking him to the hospital, but out of town, and Larry reveals Michael's treatment to Kyle.
Putting him in a sensory dep tank. Gonna shut the lights out and show him there's nothing to be scared of.
They're gonna put him in the dark.
We're gonna fix him.
Kyle threatens Larry with the gun he stole from the hardware store. At the same time, I notice Larry is suddenly off-road in the middle of a forest, driving straight for a tree. I wonder why that is. Oh, right, that's why. Larry hears the screeching Tooth Fairy and looks up at her as she swoops down and picks him up through the air. After another jump scare where Larry gets dropped onto the ground and dragged off again for no logical reason, Kyle, apparently completely uninjured from face-planting our windshield, gets in the car. The car is apparently just as strong as Kyle because it starts even though that crash would have almost certainly totaled it. Using Larry's phone, Kyle rings up the hospital and tells them not to go through with the procedure.
I'm sorry, Miss Green is not available.
Don't let her put Michael in the dark. I'm almost there.
Yes, that all makes total sense to the nurse that has no freaking idea what you're talking about. A tiny bit later, Kyle manages to get to the hospital and gets the doctors to abort the procedure. Well, it looks like we're heading towards a climb. Jesus H. Christ, the police force in this film are a bit eager, aren't they? He made a mildly strange phone call and they're arresting him again? Yeah, so for those who left the room for the last couple of minutes and can't be able to rewind the video, here's the gist. Not that much. So Kyle is back in prison again, presumably this time for carrying a gun without a license. I say presumably because the movie never really explains this. Kyle tells the police about the Tooth Fairy, but surprise, surprise, they don't believe him.
How many unsolved murders you had around here? Not just this year, but in the last 100. How many of them involved children?
Okay, so no one has noticed that this town has people, especially children, disappearing and the cases never being solved. Did they, look at the national statistics and think, something's a bit off here? Then again, I guess no one has noticed how all the Tooth Fairy kills have scratch marks on their faces, so I guess the police just aren't all that attentive. But suddenly, a power cut hits the town, because not all the characters can blunder into the forest at night. Michael responds well.
We're all gonna die.
Cookie! After the police fumble around for ages, not really achieving anything much besides showing themselves as idiots, which we pretty much knew already, the Tooth Fairy starts attacking the police officers. Say, do you remember how badass it was in The Terminator when Arnie knocked out the entire police station because he was after Sarah? Now compare it to this scene in Darkness Falls where the Tooth Fairy kills all the police officers for no discernible reason. Now I don't know, but if I was the police and I had a captive inmate inside insisting you stayed in the light, maybe you should try listening to him.
Get in the light.
Shut up.
She can't hurt you in the light!
Even better, the cops start shooting out the incredibly dim emergency lighting for no reason to get themselves killed. You know, I'm getting the impression that she's not really a Tooth Fairy unless all these police officers lost their teeth recently, so I'm guessing she's more of a kills you for looking at her in the dark fairy. But I can see why they went for the former. Kyle, who has survived thanks to a flashlight being conveniently pointed at his cell, manages to get the keys to his cell from a fallen officer and escape. Meanwhile, the captain gets killed even as his son shoots the Tooth Fairy in the face, damaging its mask. Kyle rescues the captain's son and heads to the hospital because the Tooth Fairy is going to go after Michael. Why she didn't do that in the first place, I have no idea.
Okay, let's stay under the bed.
I'm a ventriloquist too! But it turns out the bed isn't that safe, so Kat and Michael have to rush along the corridors being chased by the Tooth Fairy. Eventually they stumble into a lift which Carl just happens to be in, and Carl scares the fairy off with a flare. But the fairy isn't so easily deterred and attacks them when the lift freezes up. Carl manages to pry open the lift doors with his bare hands, and the doctor from earlier just happens to be on the other side because the plot says so. The doctor catches a peek of the fairy on top of the lift, which means he's pretty much a goner. The Tooth Fairy starts lowering the lift and the trio escape, albeit without grabbing any of the torches or flares Carl had with him. They need to make their way to escape.
How long do we have the emergency lights?
Another couple of minutes, maybe.
That's all we need to get out of here.
A couple of minutes? Those emergency lighting systems last for hours so people can get out of the building. Alas, Kyle, Michael, Kat, the doctor and two nurses all try and venture through the very dimly lit hospital corridors. These emergency lights suck, I like to add, as they hardly provide any illumination at all. Talk about safe, look at this! A slither of the room is lit up! Michael and Carl all carefully pass through the slither of the light, but one of the nurses rushes into the dark. Hey, that's cheating! She didn't see the Tooth Fairy, so why is it attacking her? Then, to make this bit utterly pointless, the lights cut out completely. Before you say dead meat, the other nurse gets pulled off from behind by the Tooth Fairy. She cheated again! That nurse didn't see her either! And don't say, oh, she probably saw her off camera. If it's a film, show it. Thanks to an awkward cut, they're now running down a different, much better lit corridor. Kat and Michael rush down the stairs, but thanks to the dramatically convenient lighting, get separated from the group. Kyle, the doctor, and the injured nurse they're both carrying have to jump through the dark patches into the light. Yeah, the nurse is really gonna make that, and because I'm always right, she doesn't. The doctor and Carl then attempt to jump the second patch, but the Tooth Fairy rams them from behind, which leaves Carl stranded on the stairs and the doctor flying all the way down. Don't worry about the doctor, he's absolutely fine, just like Kyle when he went through a f***ing windshield. Kat goes to rescue Carl as the Tooth Fairy looms over just outside the light, and immediately recognises Carl, even though she hasn't seen him for years, and, judging by the film so far, kills people every day. The remaining light cuts out and the Tooth Fairy goes to attack the four, but suddenly headlight fills the room as the captain's son smashes through the hospital in a truck. Oh, and I've noticed that Michael's hair has suddenly become way shorter than it has been in the rest of the movie. Ladies and gentlemen, continuity has left the building. The truck reverses out and speeds off. It turns out the captain's son and Carl are going to the town's lighthouse and light up the gasoline-powered backup system. But the doctor is a bit of a nitpicker.
Why don't we just keep driving? We're safe in the car.
I guess not. It's almost like she heard him say that and did it to prove a plot point. With the doctor dead, making all those escapees in the hospital scene pointless, the Tooth Fairy continues her assault on the car. Cat scares the Tooth Fairy away, but then the torch cuts out. Do all the lights cut out in this movie? And can the next one be the projector, please? Using kerosene lanterns, the group get into the lighthouse and pour the gasoline into the generator. They turn on the light, which means they're safe, right? F***'s sake! Kyle and the captain's son are forced to go down and fix it, since the lanterns won't last very long.
This thing's gonna kill us, isn't it?
Wow, we have an optimist on our hands, folks.
All this over a fucking tooth.
Gentlemen, we have our mandated PG-13 F word. And actually, it wasn't about a tooth. It was about, I forget, actually. So they discover a leak in the generator and Carl goes to fix it, leaving the captain's son with the light. Guess what happens to him? How gloriously predictable. Some falling debris knocks over Carl and he falls to the ground with the spilt kerosene from the lanterns soaking Carl's arm. Up above, Michael and Kat's lanterns die too, and Michael just happens to keep a glow stick on him, so they're fine. However, the Tooth Fairy shatters all the windows, and Michael drops the glow stick, breaking it. Whoa, 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 whoa! He dropped it and it broke? You know, glow sticks are actually quite sturdy. They don't break unless you snap the end off deliberately. Michael falls down off the platform and the Tooth Fairy smashes in and attacks Cat. But thanks to Carl's amazing pitching arm, he hits her in the face with a broken lantern and she drops Cat 7 feet down to Kyle. Ouch. And with nice internal continuity, this fall actually hurts her. Unlike when the Doctor rolled down the stairs or when Carl got flung through a fucking windshield. They attempt to reach a switch to activate the lighthouse before the smashed lantern's flames die out. Kyle is too big to reach, so Michael tries to fit through a crawl space to reach the switch, which he activates just in the nick of time as the Tooth Fairy lunges. She gets hit by the rays of light and appears to explode. Hooray! The movie's over! Damn it! Why did I forget that horror movie baddies have to be killed twice? Kyle tussles with the bloody thing, kicking the swirling light and finally ripping the porcelain mask off. Yay! An obviously fake dummy that was spoiled if you saw the poster or the DVD cover. Kyle spots the sparks flying from the damaged light and puts his kerosene-soaked arm into it, igniting it. This leads to the mother of all one-liners.
I see you, bitch!
Kyle watches as the Tooth Fairy finally has her soul set free. Simultaneously, he's also set mine free because this movie might really be over this time. But we still have one final scene featuring a group of characters we've never met before. There's this kid who's lost a tooth and is being tucked in by his dad. Oh god, I really hope they're not sequel baiting.
Tooth Fairy?
It's just Mommy, honey. Go back to sleep.
Wow, how utterly pointless. And with that, the movie ends, cutting to credits. 11 minutes of them. Yes, 11 minutes of credits. The movie without credits is just over an hour long, and they needed to pad out the running time so it could be shown theatrically. So you're actually getting less movie for your money. I would say you're getting ripped off, but personally I'm thankful I don't have to sit through any more of this shit. What is most amazing about the movie is how short it is and how there's almost nothing to it besides what I mentioned in this review. What's even better is when you watch the theatrical trailer, which seems to be mostly comprised of deleted scenes. She's young in the trailer, in the film she's really old. Remember the awkward cut when the nurse got taken? This explains it.
Just walk towards my voice. Come on.
God, this movie is a mess. A derivative, ineptly plotted and cliche-ridden horror movie that is just preposterous in every way, including his feeble attempts at making something like the Tooth Fairy actually scary. What next? The Easter Bunny where it picks up the severed heads of people in the basket instead of eggs? Actually, let's not give them ideas. I'm Matthew Buck, beating down bad movies everywhere.